Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
I'm Teresa Woodard in Dallas, and here are some headlines from North Texas. First, in Mosquite, a family only had minutes to escape their home before a fire destroyed it, and their neighbor's house too. The cause of the fire might surprise you. Here's Jobin Puniker.
They were ready for the storms to hit. Rain, thunder, and lightning.
Two of them landed in this tree.
But not for what actually hit them.
It was just too fast.
Elizabeth Ruiz can tell you where it started.
There it is, all gone.
And show you how it ended. 3 minutes on Thursday night in Mosquite changed everything for the Ruiz family. It was the neighbors who first alerted them to the fire. Elizabeth is thankful for them.
When we came out, everything was already in flames.
The fire sparked by the unlikeliest of sources.
It's just 3 minutes. 3 minutes and everything's gone.
The small balls of light you see on a screen may seem beautiful in the sky and in the moment. It was brutal for them.
They said there were so many lanterns and it happened so fast they don't know exactly how it happened.
Mosquite Fire believes floating fire lanterns from an event 3 miles away got caught in their tree and burned down 2 homes.
That's the tree. That's right here, and that's where it landed.
Elizabeth, her husband, and 4 children made it out safely. Their special needs daughter needed to be carried out.
You see your children cry. You break. I couldn't be strong for them. I couldn't stop this for them.
The Ruizes do not have home insurance. It lapsed 3 months ago. Her son was waiting on the tags of this car.
Has not even driven it once.
Nobody was hurt, but both homes are destroyed. Both families are staying in hotels for now. Mosquite Fire wants to warn people about floating lanterns and fireworks. They are dangerous and destructive.
While they're celebrating their stuff,
Elizabeth is trying to save what's left of hers. In Mosquite, I'm Jobin Puniker.
A new homeowner in Forney thought she was getting a fresh start, but the water company is refusing to turn on her tap because the previous owner had an unpaid bill. Cole Sullivan reports from Travis Ranch explaining why this woman is getting punished for someone else's debt.
Calling a new house home
is very peaceful, so yeah.
Is exciting.
I really love it, and I love it home.
Her pride comes out.
I'll go in and show you.
When Rosalind Lyles
It's more space. I needed the space. This is my home.
shows us around.
Excuse the mess, I'm moving in.
She closed on this place in Forney last month, but found a problem that wasn't there on her last walkthrough.
There's no water here. It's not on.
And when she called the water provider, a surprise.
There was to be no water turned on here at this property until that bill was paid. It's paid, and it's like a total of $1,373.24.
Do you have that money?
I do not have that money.
She says Forney Lake Water Supply told her to get water so she can run the bath and flush the toilet in her new house. She'd have to foot a month's overdue bill. The person she bought from never paid.
It's too much, and no one should have to experience this.
The woman who answered when I called Forney Lake Water told me no comment. She said to get any information about this, I'd have to ask to attend the next board meeting 5 days in advance. She said that'd be in April, but she couldn't tell me exactly what day.
It would be different. It was my bill, you know. I would have paid it.
Lyles showed us paperwork from the title company. There's no lien. Her realtor says no one can get in touch with the previous owner, but the water provider will not budge.
I had to go to McDonald's if I want to use the restroom.
She felt pride in her new house.
Nothing.
But without water, it can't feel like home.
It does not make any sense. I cannot make it make sense.
In Forney, I'm Cole Sullivan.
Later this week, cars will be racing through the streets of Arlington in the Java House Grand Prix. Here's Scoop Jefferson now with what fans and residents should expect.
As crews continue transforming Arlington's entertainment district into a racetrack, Florida resident Nicholas Clark counts the days to race weekend, saying don't miss it.
You know, come on down, get the experience, feel the adrenaline.
The inaugural Grand Prix race is a nearly 3-mile race course, March 13th, for people who have experienced racing like Clark. Words hard to find, the feeling one of a kind.
I mean, it's something I really can't explain, and you have to come down and get it for yourself. You know what I mean? Like the field or the race cars fly past you, you know, that's exciting.
Exciting because thousands are expected to attend. Big crowds and huge events are nothing new to Arlington police.
This is going to be unlike anything that we've ever done here in the entertainment district before. We've hosted a lot of big stuff, but nothing that looks quite like this, nothing where there's a racetrack literally going through the heart of the entertainment district.
The massive course means drivers and race fans should expect major traffic changes around the district.
So we're going to have a lot of the main roads that you're used to taking to get in and out of the entertainment district shut down.
Police encourage racegoers, map out your plans ahead of time.
We just really strongly encourage everybody to take a look at where they're seating and come up with a plan of where they should park before they come. That way you can drive straight there.
Expect beefed up patrols and security checkpoints around the race course and more.
There's going to be security to get into the racetrack. You're going to have to pass through security checkpoints.
And just seeing all the pre-race set up now,
Go ahead and get a ticket.
has Nicholas Clark telling race fans, don't miss out on the Grand Prix. In Arlington, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
We are hearing for the first time from the CEO of the Brooklyn Dumpling Shop in Deep Ellum in Dallas after food influencer Keith Lee announced a new investment. Lee signed a multi-year partnership with the restaurant and celebrated with a pop-up that drew in hundreds of people. The owner says this is a dream come true.
And so the stars all aligned that Keith already knew about us, already loves our food. And so because of that, we were really excited since, you know, he's got such a platform. He has such an amazing voice in the food space, in the restaurant space, because of his authenticity and the fact that he really believes in us. And that's how this all came together. That was a dream come true.
They are giving away free dumplings to people who visit the store, post about it online, tag the Brooklyn Dumpling Shop, and give them a follow. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of coffee shops and cafes across North Texas, but there is only one like this. Here's Sean Giggy.
You know what goes great with a good cup of coffee? Cuddles. Hello.
You can get your fix at Cup a Pug, a pug cafe in Frisco.
We are an experience where people come in and they enjoy time with pugs.
Owner Jay Taylor says you can play with up to 25 pugs, pugs who are eagerly waiting for you. The tale of how Cup a Pug started came out of an effort to save this pug, Gizmo. Gizmo is an albino pug, or pink pug, which explains why everything here is pink. And he wasn't expected to live more than a year. To help save him, the first Cup a Pug opened in London. Gizmo is 5 now, and the mission is bigger.
Now we save hundreds and thousands of pugs.
Cup a Pug partners with a local rescue to bring adoptable pugs to the cafe. And a portion of every ticket and merchandise sales go towards saving more pugs. No ifs, ands, or buts.
And we help them get those pugs adopted.
Jay says even if you're not looking to adopt, it's a good chance to have fun and make your day a little brighter.
They get a nice serotonin and dopamine boost, and they feel good walking out.
In other words, you'll leave with a smile.
All those dogs looks like heaven on earth to me. Those are your headlines from North Texas.
In Austin, I'm Darenisha Heron. More than 1 week after the tragedy on West 6th Street, an outpouring of support from across Central Texas for the victims and families affected by the mass shooting. This weekend, fundraisers were held for 30-year-old George Peterson, 19-year-old Ryder Harrington, and 21-year-old Savitha Shawn. Financially, there have been several established donation websites online for the victims and families impacted by this tragedy. On top of that, Buford's Bar itself is committing to donating 100% of all sales this entire weekend to them as well. But there's also a local chain of bars mirroring this effort. Well-known college bar Victory Lap posted on Instagram it intends to donate a portion of its sales to Buford's staff and the victims impacted by the shooting. The West Campus location on 24th Street is pulling from their sales on Friday night, while the Rainey Street location is committing a portion of its sales from Saturday night. We spoke with people who chose to come out and support.
As someone who lived a block away from where the shooting occurred, Buford's, it's horrific, it's sad, and that's a younger bar. It's, 21 to 28 year olds. It's a horrifically sad thing. If you have a heart and care about the betterment of other people, you walk in to that bar, whatever establishment it is, to fundraise and make money for those affected by bad things that happen.
The support goes beyond businesses. Travis County Emergency Services District 12 fire engines in Maine are sporting red bows on the front of their units. They're calling it #RedBowsForRyder, paying tribute to Ryder Harrington, the first victim to be identified from Sunday's mass shooting. The 19-year-old was a part of the Beta Theta Pi fraternity at Texas Tech University in 2024. The Emergency Rescue Department revealed on social media that Harrington was related to one of their members. They say in an online statement, quote, he was a beloved son, brother, friend, and cousin to TCESD 12 fire engineer Zach Hubenak. We wear these bows to stand with our brother Zach to honor Ryder's life. They are a visible reminder that the fire service is family on and off the job, and that we support our own through unimaginable loss, end quote. The agency is inviting the community to join them by displaying a red bow at your home, business, or anywhere meaningful to you to show support for Harrington's family. And federal authorities say the gunman who opened fire was a naturalized citizen, but some Republican lawmakers from Texas are implying immigration played a role in this tragedy. This week, more than 70 Texas House Republicans sent a letter to Congress honing in on the gunman's immigration history, suggesting he was not properly vetted. Here's KVUE's Daniel Perot.
A day after last weekend's mass shooting in downtown Austin, Texas House Republicans sent a letter to congressional leaders pushing for an immediate pause on all legal immigration until proper vetting protocols are put in place. The lawmakers say the time for deliberation is over. The American people and the people of Texas demand immigration policies that place the safety and welfare of Americans first. House lawmakers are also demanding a freeze on H-1B visa issuances and full funding for Homeland Security. This video released by APD shows the 53-year-old gunman in a parking lot near West 6 and starting to fire his rifle at victims. Homeland Security says he entered the United States from Senegal on a tourist visa in March 2000. He became a permanent resident when he married a U.S. citizen in 2006 and became a naturalized citizen in 2013. There is extensive vetting as part of the naturalization process, including criminal background checks.
For years, it has always been this way. This has been the process as far as whenever you file the application.
Immigration attorney V. Nanthaveth says the intensity increased after 9/11.
I think there was probably added layers to how the practice of vetting someone after getting their biometrics done, that changed.
The letter calls what happened a terrorist attack. APD and the FBI have said there's a potential link to terrorism, but they've not released an official motive.
There were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism.
As investigators continue to look into that possible link to terrorism, the FBI says it's finished recovering evidence linked to the gunman and is pursuing leads to identify potential associates. At last check, investigators have served 38 subpoenas and 8 search warrants in this case. A Hays County woman is recovering after she says a rabid fox attacked her. It comes after the Texas Department of State Health Services reported a spike in rabies in the county earlier this year. KVUE's Brianna Perez explains what's being done to stop the spread and what you should do if you come across a rabid animal.
In the neighborhoods of Hays County, some are on high alert as rabies continues to spread among wildlife. Residents say the danger is hitting too close to home.
I kind of turned like this and I called, "Hey, kitty, kitty." And when I did, out from underneath here came the fox.
A moment Linda Rogers says replays in her mind.
But I just started kicking, and I guess I was progressing more than I knew because when I got here, I missed this step and fell, and that's what caused this injury.
A fractured arm and later a bite mark on her leg. Rogers was treated for rabies after tests confirmed the animal was infected.
I already knew from the behavior of the fox that there was no doubt in my mind that it wasn't rabid. They don't act that way. I mean, it was growling and carrying on, and It was mad.
State health officials in Hays County say 8 animals have tested positive for rabies this year. County Judge Ruben Becerra says 4 of them were foxes.
We've certainly seen in the last couple of years increasing rabies, specifically terrestrial rabies, so not dealing with bats in that area.
Chris Van Dusen with the Department of State Health Services says any mammal can carry rabies, but the disease is treatable if caught early.
Really, the bad thing is that once a person begins to show signs of rabies, it is almost always fatal.
In the meantime, county officials say
currently we are conducting quarterly, which is all we have done at this time, quarterly rabies clinics. They're low-cost clinics and they're providing rabies shots.
Rogers says she hopes others can avoid what she went through.
I think it's just important that people can learn from my experience. I'm learning from it.
In Hays County, Brianna Perez, KVUE News.
The county will host its next rabies vaccination clinic on Saturday, March 14th, so people can swing by and bring their pets in for shots. That'll happen at Centro Esperanza in San Marcos from 8 to 10:30 a.m. Those are the headlines here in Austin. I'm Darenisha Heron.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.
Hey there, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Frazier. Let's go ahead and jump right into your Texas headlines. And you know what? There's going to be a noticeable change for much of this week. Yeah, over the weekend, we had a lot of very active weather statewide. That's because we had a cold front, we had a dry line, we had low pressure. Well, don't worry, all of that has gone away. Sort of, mainly because we're looking at an entire another round of low pressure, cold front, and a dry line. So for much of your Monday, here we go, warm with some rain and storm chances. Notice a lot of those widespread 80s from the Panhandle to West Texas to Central Texas to even North Texas. Lots of widespread 80s, minimal rain chances. Exception is going to be about DFW. Heading into Tuesday, that next cold front is going to be pushing in. Temperatures begin to fall, but only in certain areas. Notice DFW dropping about a couple of degrees. El Paso dropping about 15 degrees during that time. 80s most everywhere else. And then Wednesday, that's when that cold front fully pushes through the majority of the Lone Star State. It is going to be slightly cooler, but we still are going to be looking at some of those storm chances. So let's break it down region by region. Much of West Texas, we're not going to be seeing any significant cool down until Tuesday into Wednesday. El Paso going to be the first one, dropping from 81 to 66. Lubbock going from 84 to 63. Midland, not as noticeable of a drop, 80 to 73. Central Texas, just seeing a lot of that heavy cloud cover, isolated rain chances from Fredericksburg to Waco on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then much of South Texas just staying pretty warm. Isolated rain chances each day for San Antonio. North Texas, yeah, steady drop from the 80s to those lower 70s. East Texas maintaining most of those temperatures. The Valley staying pretty toasty. Tuesday is going to be some of those best, not rain chances, wind chances. All right, so here's those high temperatures for much of today. Lots of widespread low 80s to mid 80s across the entirety of the state and pushing into central Oklahoma as well. By Tuesday, all right, you can already see where that cold front is starting to dip its way down. It's coming in directly from the west, so that's why El Paso is dipping down faster than most. Alpine dropping down into those 70s, even Killeen dropping down to about 79. And then Wednesday, okay, you're going to see the next round of that. Temperatures beginning to drop off, mainly in West Texas first, extending out into more so the Concho Valley. But we're also seeing that extend to North Texas, low 70s for DFW. mid-60s for Wichita Falls. But let's break down those rain chances and where we're going to be seeing them. So starting off this morning, just seeing a lot of that cloud cover, maybe those pop-up shower chances right around San Antonio, Austin, becoming a little bit more of an easterly storm heading out toward Beaumont into Houston, maybe even Tyler seeing a little bit of those pop-up showers. All right, much of your Tuesday afternoon, this becomes a little bit more widespread as that front itself stalls out over top of the area. We're still getting plenty of moisture getting pulled in right off the Gulf, and we're seeing more and more of those steady rain chances right along the I-35 corridor. Pretty typical. Then it starts to ramp up just a little bit more on Wednesday, becoming a little bit more encompassing of the state, if that's the right term. Probably not. I didn't major in English, by the way. So there's that for you. Lots of those rain chances. Can we see a decent amount? Because much of Texas desperately could use some rain. And I'm actually looking at a lot of that purple, a lot of that red. What is that? About 2 to maybe 3 inches over the course of about 4 days or so. Well, you know what? We can handle that. Even West Texas finally getting a nice little taste of some rain. Although that's about all West Texas will get is just that small taste. So let's watch that weather pattern. Where is that cold front? I'm going to say it's that large-scale low-pressure system passing through across much of the area during that time. So that 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, mainly for much of the end of this week and early next week, it's going to be hot. And we're looking at some of the best rain chances towards East Texas, east of I-35, below average rain chances for much of the Texas Panhandle and West Texas. So here's that 7-day outlook for the rest of the week. Heading into the weekend, we all have that quick little dip kind of going into either Tuesday or Wednesday. Noticeably cooler on Thursday, widespread 70s for much of the region. And then we start heating back up with more and more of those 80s making a comeback into this weekend. Boy, oh boy, these roller coaster temperatures are certainly fun, but having more spring-like conditions in the wintertime, personally not my cup of tea.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
Let's take a look at today's headlines from Houston. I'm Orko Manna. A Galveston County jury found a Houston mother guilty of murdering her 17-month-old daughter, a case that's shocked the community. Prosecutors say Channel Yonko threw her toddler from a third-floor balcony at a hotel along the seawall. Her defense team argued she was legally insane at the time. KHOU 11's Michelle Choi explains the verdict and looks at the emotional toll this case has taken on everyone involved.
That jury reached its verdict quickly, deliberating for less than an hour after a week of hearing testimony in a Galveston County court. Prosecutors say this is one of the most difficult cases they've ever had to present, centered around the death of 17-month-old Hannah Yonko. This is video of the mother, Chanel Yonko, being escorted into court earlier this week. She was on trial for capital murder after investigators say she threw her toddler daughter from a third-floor balcony at the Beachfront Palms Hotel in October of 2024. Hannah Yonko was found on 59th Street near the hotel along Seawall Boulevard, injured and with puncture wounds, and later died at the hospital. During the trial, Yonko's attorneys argued she was legally insane at the time, but prosecutors say jurors ultimately rejected that defense.
We greatly appreciate the work that the jury put in. They spent an entire week looking at some of the toughest evidence that there is to look at, and we appreciate the work that they put in, how quickly they delivered such a swift verdict.
Prosecutors say the case was especially emotional given the age of the victim.
I don't think of myself much as a crier, but the first time I went through this evidence, it got me tearing up. So it was definitely an emotional case.
This was probably the most difficult case I will face in my career. I have been on this case since the day it happened. As emotional as it has been worth every second fighting for Hannah.
After the verdict, we also spoke with one of the jurors who says the weight of the decision was felt in the jury room as well.
It's just such a sad case, and I kept on thinking of the panel, that we all wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, and we just couldn't get there.
Yeah, prosecutors had previously announced they would not be seeking the death penalty. Under Texas law, because the victim is younger than 10, Yonko will automatically serve life in prison without the possibility of parole. Back to you.
That was Michelle Choi reporting. Now to this, we're learning new details about a plane crash in Maine involving a business jet that first took off from Hobby Airport here in Houston. And that crash killed all 6 people on board. According to a preliminary report from the NTSB, on January 25th, the plane landed in Bangor, Maine for refueling. It then needed to be de-iced. The time between the start of anti-icing and takeoff was about 17 minutes. The pilot commented it was standard to have a 14 to 18-minute wait, but if it was longer than 30 minutes, they would have to de-ice again. But according to the report, due to the cold, icy conditions, the maximum amount of time between the start of de-icing and takeoff should have been 9 minutes. We need to be clear, though, this is a preliminary NTSB report. The NTSB will not determine the cause of the crash until its final report, which could take between 1 to 2 years. Houston police say a serial burglary suspect is targeting homes in a central Houston neighborhood, breaking in during the middle of the night and stealing valuables. In one case, investigators say the suspect crawled through a doggy door to get inside. Jason Miles spoke with one homeowner who says the thief got away with irreplaceable family heirlooms.
A doggy door built for small pets was big enough for this suspect to crawl through after investigators say he removed the frame before turning the camera away.
Which is crazy because it's a pretty small dog door.
Alleged victim Kristen Lister discovered the burglary last Thursday in the middle of the afternoon after returning to her home along this street.
He has my grandmother's wedding ring. He has my mother's 50th wedding anniversary band. Lots of stuff that I can get some money from an insurance company, but it's not going to replace what was lost.
Sentimental.
It's absolutely sentimental.
The same suspect is wanted for a string of burglaries in the Montrose area over the past few weeks, including this incident where he's seen sneaking out the window. Investigators say he also entered. Another woman who lives on the same street showed me her cleaned out jewelry cabinet that also contained cherished heirlooms. In addition to the broken door, the suspect is accused of prying open. This is video of the man leaving her home with bags of loot, again in broad daylight.
He has an extensive criminal history for burglary and different things.
Harris County Precinct 1 Constable Alan Rosen says a tipster helped identify the suspect as 56-year-old Bobby John Henry, who has 2 open warrants as we speak out of other counties. Rosen's office plans to charge Henry with at least 4 burglaries for starters.
As we work through these cases, there may be more burglaries that we are able to tie him to. So it's pretty clear this is the way he earns a living, and we want to get him off the street.
That's something Lister is relieved may happen after experiencing her family's first brush with crime like this.
I believe that we live in a place where neighbors are neighborly, and that's all shattered, of course, when someone enters your home.
That was Jason Miles reporting. At a local thrift shop, Easter is hopping early with hand-decorated eggs and festive baskets, and every sale supports a great cause. Bluebird Circle says this yearly tradition has a bigger impact than you might think. Amanda Henderson takes us behind the scenes to see it in action.
Inside the doors of Bluebird Circle, you'll find antiques and friendly volunteers ringing them up. It's business as usual. But on the floor above,
we need to make sure that the heart, which is our symbol this year, is out front.
It's Egg Week, where these volunteers,
all our volunteers are just willing and ready during Egg Week,
commit hundreds of hours to hand drawing designs on Easter eggs.
You don't have to be an artist, you just have to be willing.
Johnny Frazier uses paint markers for her design. And when dry, it'll be part of a pack of 6 different designs, placed in one of these vibrant Easter baskets that line the shelves.
Oh my gosh, they're amazed.
Mary Gannon, among the hundreds of volunteers helping make these Easter baskets and ceramic eggs. She says This is a generational tradition spanning more than 100 years.
We have people who have inherited their eggs from their parents and their grandparents because we've been doing this project so long.
And these 6,000 eggs, they'll be sold for a good cause.
Our main mission is to support infants and children with neurological disorders at Texas Children's Hospital.
So everyone continues painting, knowing every egg today can make a bigger impact tomorrow.
We get the job done.
In Houston, I'm Amanda Henderson, KHOU 11 News.
Some incredible work for a great cause. Well, that's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Orko Manna.
I'm Bill Churchwell in Corpus Christi, and here's what's happening right here in South Texas. The Corpus Christi Army Depot, still a major employer despite job losses, was recently toured by elected officials and the Undersecretary of the Army. Ryan Hopper spoke with them about CCAD's future and the families who depend on those jobs.
The Corpus Christi Army Depot, once a symbol of national and economic security for the coastal bend, has steadily lost thousands of jobs over recent years, prompting a visit from Senator John Cornyn and Undersecretary of the Army Michael Obadal, the man who oversees Army depots across the nation.
We will not give up our CCAD jobs and risk national security. That's what this is about. So we're so grateful to the Undersecretary for taking time, on a short notice to be here, representing and clarifying and committing to making certain that the right attention will be given to this issue.
Among those present, Congressman Vicente Gonzalez, who is now running to represent most of Nueces County, including CCAD.
We had a great conversation with the Undersecretary. We were able to point out specific policy changes that could make a difference in conserving jobs and bringing new industry to the region.
Changes like legislation to level the playing field against private sector manufacturers.
The CCADs are put to an economic disadvantage and have to actually charge more than these other manufacturers. So there's things that we can do to tweak the law.
And while the Army can replace its helicopters with drones, as it continues to do, officials worry about the local technicians and engineers it can't replace, especially with the emerging conflict with Iran.
You can't replace that overnight. These are incredibly talented individuals who've got a lot of experience protecting and supporting our warfighters, and we want to make sure that continues.
But regardless of geopolitical events, today's message from those on the tour was clear.
These jobs matter. They belong to us. They need to stay right here in Corpus Christi.
Ryan Hopper, 3 News.
A tragic car accident in Live Oak County claimed the life of Roland Adame, a beloved dance instructor and fixture in the Coastal Bend's dance community, especially over at the Ranch Dance Hall. Natalia Osuno spoke with his family, colleagues, and students, all sharing the lasting legacy he leaves behind.
That video shows the last time Patty Adame danced with her husband, Roland Adame, before he passed. Now she honors him with a tribute in their home on the island.
He was able to bring compassion and joy and love towards everybody through his dance.
Roland was a well-known dance instructor in the Coastal Bend. He spent over 35 years teaching people of all skill levels the art of dance. And the couple even met on the dance floor during a class at First United Methodist Church.
He turned around and he said, "Are y'all here for the dance class?" And, I said, "Yes." But when our eyes met, it was a connection immediately.
2 years later, they were married, and they never stopped dancing since then, choreographing flash mobs and even owning their own dance studio at one point.
He would teach two-step, polka, waltz, cha-cha, salsa, merengue, foxtrot.
Every Friday night, Roland would teach classes at the Ranch Dance Hall. When they announced Roland's passing on social media, hundreds of people flooded the comments sharing fond memories of him.
The outpouring of love has been just overwhelming and comforting.
Twinkie Gallegos worked with Roland for the past 16 years.
That's why our dance lessons are so popular, because we had that person that just made you feel like at home and didn't judge you.
And Daniel Rodriguez says Roland's classes helped him and his friends step out of their shell.
He never had a bad day. He was always very positive about everything, always telling us that, oh, you can do this dance. And I would say, no, it's hard. He would say, no, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Always positive about life.
Gallegos saying Roland's impact is everlasting.
Roland's not here, but he'll always be here. And that is told by the people that he's touched.
And Adami leaving those who loved him with a message.
As he always said all the time is, I hope you dance.
Natalia Osuna, 3 News.
And that is a quick look at some of what's happening in South Texas.
I'm Adriana Alexander. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. Car lovers and people in the community gathered Saturday for the 3rd annual Revving for Wiley Memorial Car Show, an event focused on raising awareness for suicide prevention. Dozens of cars, trucks, and motorcycles and other vehicles filled the lot, all in honor of 17-year-old Riley Capel, who died by suicide in 2023. Organizers say Capel loved anything with wheels and speed. One of the biggest moments of the day came during the rev, when drivers started their engines at the same time, creating a powerful tribute and a reminder that the fight against suicide continues. An historic, predominantly African-American cemetery in Mart is getting renewed attention thanks in large parts to the community's efforts and dedication. Evergreen Cemetery was founded more than a century ago, and community members are now working to preserve its legacy for generations to come. 6 News anchor Adrian Carbajal has the story.
Evergreen Cemetery, formerly known as the Colored Cemetery of Mart, it's the final resting place for generations of African-American families. The cemetery was established in 1921 during segregation, when black residents had to create burial grounds of their own.
Well, it was a black cemetery because it was in the black part of the city of Mart. If you ever research Mart, Texas, it's a very small little city, population 2197. And it's the only black cemetery at that time that was close to the neighborhood.
Over time, the cemetery expanded, adding a second tract of land in 1975. But like many historic cemeteries, Evergreen faced years of neglect. Glory Thomas is president of the Evergreen Cemetery Association, and though she now lives in Houston, she says she didn't realize how much the cemetery needed help, even though her own family is buried there.
Weeds were high, the grass wasn't cut. And it took my aunt to tell me a year later how embarrassed she was that we buried her sister in that cemetery. And so that opened my eyes at first.
Thomas decided to take action. Each year she returns to Mart to update the community on what progress has been made, from new fences to gates, and asks others to get involved in preserving the cemetery's history.
It's something that you have to want to do. And we're not where we need to be, but we're better than where we were when we started. And we're steady striving for improvement. Black History Month, recognizing Evergreen Cemetery, that meant a lot to me.
Support has come from near and far, including former residents, family members, and even people outside the black community who understand the importance of preserving history.
And not just black people. This one white guy at our meeting, he told me, he said, if you turn this cemetery into a nonprofit association, he said, I have funds for you. And the company he told me about gave us our first grant. And that's why it makes me want to do all I can, and I share it out just to get everybody on the same feeling that I'm on. That you don't do it just for your family. Do it for every family that chose that cemetery as their final place of rest.
Now, Evergreen Cemetery remains privately maintained through donation, volunteer work, and community support. During Black History Month, Thomas and other organizers hoped the renewed attention will help preserve the cemetery's legacy for generations to come. And those are your headlines from Central Texas.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
I'm Vanessa Croy, and here's the news in San Antonio. New video from the San Antonio Fire Department capturing intense flames engulfing a Northeast Side apartment complex. Firefighters rushed to the scene off the 2300 block of Austin Highway just before 6 Saturday night. Take a listen to this broadcastify audio as crews describe what they were facing.
It's already spread to the building right in front of me. You understand that?
Yeah, these two buildings are gone. We're protecting the breezeway as much as possible to keep it from spreading.
The fast-moving flames leaving many families without a home. Our KENS 5 Sue Kalberg was there and takes us to the scene.
The first call came in just before 6 o'clock here in the 2300 block of Austin Highway. The fire commander says that they believe this massive apartment fire that wrecked all 24 units in Building 9 here on Austin Highway started on the second floor, started on a balcony. He urged everybody in these dry times with high wind conditions that everybody needs to remain safe during these perilous times. Now, with regard to damage, 22 of the 24 units were occupied, 31 people total are displaced, completely lost everything. This building is a wreck. They managed to keep it from spreading to very close units that were nearby, even though they describe this as a wind-blown blast furnace with embers flying and threatening other buildings. Now, they did have one pregnant woman go to the hospital to be checked out, but all of the firefighters are okay and everybody else is okay. They don't know of any pets that were injured, and the Red Cross is on the way.
Sue Kalberg, KENS 5.
San Antonio police are searching for a gunman after a robbery turns violent at a Southside fast food restaurant. Officers were called out just after 1 Sunday morning to the Jack in the Box off South Zarzamora. Investigators say a man walked in and tried to rob employees, and sometime during the holdup, that suspect shot one of the workers. The employee was rushed to the hospital and thankfully expected to be okay. Police say the suspect took off, and despite searching the area, officers never found him. It's still unclear if that suspect got away with any money. A man convicted of 2 murders and luring his victims through a dating app will now spend decades in prison. Investigators say back in April of 2023, Geranti Pleasant used the Grindr dating app to meet his first victim. 54-year-old Larry Wilson was later found shot to death in his car at a Northeast Side apartment complex. The very next day, police say 22-year-old Joseph West was found dead inside his apartment, also shot in the head. Detectives say fingerprints and ballistic evidence connected the 2 crime scenes and linked them back to Pleasant. Court records also show he was convicted of aggravated robbery and the aggravated sexual assault of a child in separate cases from 2022. And another man convicted of murder has learned his fate, 70 years in prison. Court records show Carl Mott had an extramarital affair with a woman. Well, last year, he approached that woman and her husband, identified as Michael Bowman, at a Northeast Side bus stop. That's when Mott stabbed that man in the shoulder. The victim tried to get help at a nearby restaurant, but did not survive his injuries. Surveillance video shows Mott throwing that knife in some bushes minutes after the attack. Mott is convicted of murder and tampering with evidence. Incredible video telling the story of a bystander who saw someone in trouble and made a split-second decision to try to save a life. It happened Thursday off Loop 410 around noon in heavy traffic when a man had a medical episode and a stranger did something amazing. Sue Kalberg spoke to the driver who made a difference.
Do not be by that 18-wheeler.
Good critical thinker, and even with my business, all I do is take care of people. I help people out with what I do for you.
No.
Renee Villarreal Albe said it was an ordinary Thursday until it wasn't.
Oh God, he's gonna hit us.
So he was coming off that left side of the wall already, and I was like, hey, honey, record this.
Oh God.
His wife, Andrea, who was a passenger, recorded the moment.
And we saw him keep swerving. That's when we realized something was wrong, and we went to go check on him, and then that's when we finally came up to, he was unconscious, and that's when we realized, okay, he's not gonna stop, and he could hurt more people. So we took action.
When trained law enforcement personnel take this kind of action, it's called a pit maneuver, a precision immobilization technique. Renee has no training, but he has confidence and heart.
So I was just really worried about his well-being, seeing his state, like that. It's terrible. I don't wish that upon nobody.
Get something for his head. A nurse also stopped to help.
This lady started CPR right away, and he lost color, but he came back, and that made it worth it. And it was, I've never seen someone just, lose their life, but being brought back was made everything worth it.
Somebody needs to stop him. What are we gonna do?
A fire department spokesman says the disabled driver was breathing and had a pulse when he was rushed to the hospital, but on the way, he was upgraded to their most critical transport category. We're still working to find out more about his condition.
Oh my God.
People have offered to set up a reward fund, but Renee says he doesn't need one. He just hopes that if he ever needs help, people will jump in like he did. Sue Kalberg, KENS 5.
Amazing story there. Well, that's your news from San Antonio.
Here in Atlanta, Southeast Texas, I'm Ebony Coleman. We are learning the identity of a woman that died in a crash in Jasper County on State Highway 62 near County Road 825. DPS tells us 35-year-old Megan Martin from Groves died at the scene, while her 13-year-old daughter died after being transported to St. Elizabeth Hospital, according to Jefferson County JP Judge Ben Collins. Martin's best friend Stephanie Shaw tells 12 News Martin's daughter Serenity Rivera and her 9-year-old son Lee Martin were passengers inside the Chevrolet pickup truck Martin was driving. They were hit after the driver of a Dodge pickup went into oncoming traffic, sideswiped a Honda, and then hit their truck. Shaw says her son suffered a broken leg and got out of surgery last night. He is now staying with family. Shaw says Megan was, quote, always positive and smiling. No matter the situation, she was always laughing, and her laugh was contagious. She says her daughter Serenity was her mother's child, and she had just made the middle school cheer squad. And animal activists in Silsbee are calling for residents to attend an upcoming city council meeting this week. According to the agenda, there will be an executive session discussing a public officer or an employee with the city. While it does not spell out who it is, we do know Joshua Nolan was arrested recently and booked into the Hardin County Jail. The former Silsbee animal control officer is at the center of an investigation into improperly disposing dog remains. The investigation started after an animal rescuer reported finding multiple dog remains while bringing 2 dogs to the center. She said one of her dogs ran into a nearby wooded area and returned with what appeared to be an animal bone.
I seen 6 or 7 dogs right here at the ditch or the bank that still had fur, meat on them, collars. I started taking pictures, I started walking, and then as you're starting to walk, you start seeing all these dogs and these bones.
Now, it looks as though Nolan has bonded out of jail. When we tried to call Hardin County, they refused to give us any information about the case. We were told to call Sheriff Mark Davis, who has yet to respond to our request. Beaumont police are investigating an auto pedestrian accident that happened on MLK Parkway. Our 12 News crews on the scene tell us they saw a man lying in the road. BPD says a person was hit while riding a bike in the 500 block of MLK. That's in front of Scooter's Coffee. The victim is recovering in the hospital in stable condition. All lanes of MLK from Fannin to Bowie Streets were closed for about an hour while officers investigated. And after months of cleanup and repairs, the Texas Energy Museum in Beaumont is back open to the public. The museum shut down last summer after a burst pipe caused major flooding inside the building. But as Tona's reporter Spencer Plato shows us, what started as a setback turned into a chance to refresh the museum's exhibits and preserve its history.
This whole wall, it came through the ceiling. And it was like running down.
After a burst pipe forced the Texas Energy Museum to shut down last July, the museum is finally powering back up.
We have old books, we have old oil land maps, we have photographs, film. So those kinds of things, humidity is extremely damaging to those objects.
But repairs quickly became more complicated after another issue surfaced during construction.
It did go on quite some time because they found asbestos, so we had to do an abatement, so that pushed us further behind.
Now, after months of delays, the doors are finally back open.
We've had a few little setbacks, but we didn't let it stop us.
What started as a major setback is now part of the museum's comeback. refreshing parts of the museum that visitors see today.
We had a few exhibitions that were damaged, unfortunately, and we just upgraded them with new literature as well.
Staff used the downtime to upgrade exhibits that had been in place for years.
We took it as a chance to refresh that back wall, and so coming soon, because we're working on that exhibition as we speak. And so this, our simple distillation system has been upgraded here as well.
The museum is also working behind the scenes to bring its collection into the digital age.
A lot of it that isn't digitized, so we can publish it online. We'll also eventually have our library online as well.
Museum leaders say the work isn't finished yet, but they're excited to welcome visitors back while improvements continue. In Beaumont, Spencer Plato, 12 News.
And those were the headlines from Southeast Texas.
Hello, I'm Dan Millay, and here are some of your East Texas headlines. The Tyler Islamic Center held its annual open house this week to foster understanding and answer questions about their faith. CBS 19's Nayeli Carrillo takes us inside, where the focus was on shared values and building bridges.
Understanding and unity. That was the message inside the Tyler Islamic Center Wednesday evening.
You want to spread love. You want to spread community. We want peace. Everybody just wants peace.
During the month of Ramadan, members opened their doors to friends, neighbors, and people of all faiths for the 5th annual open house.
We have people from all denominations. They come in. We just have a little small talk, and then after that we pray, and then we have a meal together. We enjoy like this. We bring harmony.
This year's theme, Jesus and Islam, a topic members say highlights common ground between faiths.
We wanted everybody to know it's just not that Jesus only belongs to Christians, it also belongs to Muslims. And we respect and revere him as the Christians revere him and respect him.
Beyond the presentation, the evening also created space for open dialogue. Similar diversity among Muslim mosques, giving attendees a chance to ask questions about misconceptions they may have seen online or on social media.
Your own research rather than just relying on what internet says, what social media says. Not all your facts are correct. Just because it's on Facebook doesn't mean it's right.
Please come visit us, and so welcome anytime to come to the Imam and ask any question.
Among those in attendance, Rabbi Neil Katz says the event is about strengthening local relationships.
We can't change the politics of what goes on in the world. All we have to do is make sure that our community is as good as it can be and is as strong as it can be. So that means sharing love and being with one another in these times of celebration.
Organizers say they hope events like this keeps the focus on education, conversation, and connection right here at home when so much is going on outside. In Tyler, Nayeli Carrillo, CBS 19.
Earlier last week, CBS 19 went through new data from TxDOT that showed some concerning trends regarding local traffic deaths. New crash data from the Texas Department of Transportation shows 165 people lost their lives on roads in the Tyler district last year, including counties like Smith, Gregg, Henderson, and Wood. The leading cause of deadly crashes in East Texas, speeding. Transportation officials say speeding remains the biggest factor behind deadly crashes, contributing to 27 fatal wrecks in 2025. Other common causes include drivers failing to stay in their lane, crossing into oncoming traffic, and driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
I try to be as courteous as you can out there, because a lot of times when you lose control and you drive too fast or try to pass when you aren't supposed to, that's when most of these fatalities will occur.
TxDOT says driving slower, staying alert, and wearing a seatbelt can help ensure you make it home safely instead of becoming a statistic. And health officials in Smith County are urging pet owners to stay alert after several raccoons tested positive for distemper. Officers say the recent reports are concentrated in the southeast portion of the county, specifically along FM 346 near White House. While the virus is common in wildlife, it can spread to domestic pets through shared water bowls or shaded outdoor areas. Animal Control Supervisor Colton Parcell says while the virus isn't a threat to humans and it's very preventable for our four-legged friends.
The distemper vaccine before an exposure is almost 99% effective. So that's why it's so important to vaccinate animals before incidents. But It is possible to treat it as long as you treat it immediately. The sunlight does kill it within minutes, usually hours at the most. But the other thing is half of a cup. So if you've got outdoor patio furniture or something, half a cup of bleach in a gallon of water, so a 1:32 ratio. Spray that on stuff, let it air dry, and you're good to go.
In nearby Mount Pleasant, the Mount Pleasant Animal Care and Adoption Center says it has received 7 calls about raccoons behaving strangely since February 10th. 2 tested positive for distemper, and officials are still waiting on results from a fox showing similar symptoms. That's a wrap on your East Texas headlines. I'm Dan Millay.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.